You know those moments when someone says your name in a meeting, or a teacher calls on you, or a friend suddenly asks for your opinion, and everyone turns to look. Your chest tightens, your mind goes blank, your mouth goes dry, and there's this tiny voice inside that whispers, "Don't mess this up." You feel like you're standing under a bright spotlight with no script in your hand. If you've ever been there, I want to tell you a quick story. A young professional walks into a conference room late and sits in the last chair. The team is discussing a new project. She plans to hide in the corner. But then the manager says, "Why don't you kick us off?" Time slows. Her heartbeat gets loud. She thinks she has seconds before her reputation is decided. And in that electric pause, she chooses a simple structure. She says what the idea is, why it matters, and what they should try next. 3 minutes later, the room nods. She didn't perform, she connected. When the meeting ends, a coworker whispers, "How did you do that?" She smiles because for once, she didn't try to be perfect. She just tried to be useful. That's the moment I want for you today. Not a performance, but a conversation. Not a dazzling speech, but a clear message. Not a flawless script, but presence, poise, and a way forward when you're put on the spot. Think Faster, Talk Smarter by Matt Abrahams is a book about those exact moments. It's about how to speak successfully when you don't have time to prepare. Matt teaches at Stanford and has spent years coaching people who have big ideas but get stuck when pressure hits. This book isn't about slick tricks or becoming someone you're not. It's about understanding your mind under stress, getting present in your body, and then using simple frameworks to organize your thoughts quickly so your message lands. If you've ever left a conversation wishing you could redo it, this is your second chance. In the next hour, I'm going to walk you through the heart of this book in a way that feels like we're sitting across from each other, talking honestly about what gets in the way and how to move it. You'll learn how to calm your nerves in seconds, how to think in structures that give your words backbone, how to listen in a way that actually makes you smarter on the spot, how to handle tough questions, and how to craft stories that stick. More importantly, you'll feel empowered to apply this today, not someday when you've memorized a script, today, in your next call, your next meeting, your next moment when someone looks at you and says, "What do you think?" My promise is simple. When this ends, you'll have practical ways to speak with more clarity and confidence, even when you didn't see it coming. Not because you'll be perfect, but because you'll know how to be human under pressure. And that's what people trust. Let's start with the part nobody likes to admit: anxiety. When the spotlight finds us, our bodies react. Your brain predicts danger, your heart speeds up, your breath gets shallow, your attention narrows. That's biology, not weakness. The first move is not to fight it, but to channel it. If you try to suppress nerves, they often get louder. So try this instead. Put both feet flat on the floor. Press your toes gently. Exhale longer than you inhale. On your next breath, silently say, "I'm excited." It sounds small, but it's powerful. Physiologically, anxieties and excitement look almost the same. Fast heart, alert mind. Labeling it as excitement gives your brain permission to use that energy. Then give your mind a tiny job. Look at one person, just one, and decide to help them. When your goal shifts from "don't fail" to "be helpful," your language becomes clearer. Ask yourself, what would be most useful right now? That single question cues your brain to simplify. Now you're ready to think in structures. Structure is your best friend in spontaneous speaking. Without a structure, your thoughts scatter. With a structure, your ideas line up like train cars. One of my favorite structures is what, so what, now what. First, state what the thing is, then explain why it matters, then say what to do next. For example, if someone asks you for a quick update, you might say, "Here's where we are. Here's why it matters for the deadline. Here's what I propose for the next 48 hours. Done." Another structure is problem, solution, benefit. State the challenge, offer your approach, and paint the payoff. Or past, present, future. Where we've been, where we are, where we're going. These patterns aren't rigid, they're lifesavers. They create momentum. They help the listener follow your thinking, and they help you speak in complete arcs rather than half-finished sentences. Notice something else. Structures lower your cognitive load. You don't have to invent the outline, you just fill it. The emotional relief is immediate. You feel like you have rails to run on. Of course, knowing a structure and using it in the moment are different things. What gets in the way is the mental pressure to be original, perfect, or impressive. That pressure makes you verbose. You talk to fill the silence. You add filler words, you ramble. Here's the antidote. Be concise on purpose. Decide before you speak that you'll deliver one main point and a concrete example. If you deliver 3 points, you risk losing all of them. 1 point lands. And the pause is not your enemy. Silence is a tool. Use it to think. Use it to emphasize. Use it to let your words breathe. When you stop fearing silence, you start choosing words that count. A practical exercise here is to practice out loud, answering everyday prompts using a structure, and keep yourself to 60 seconds. For instance, what was the challenge you faced this week? Try problem, solution, benefit. Keep it tight. Record yourself. Listen for fillers. Notice where you got lost. Then try again the next day. This isn't about rehearsing set pieces. It's about training your brain to think in arcs. There's another concept that changes everything. AIM. Audience, intent, message. Before you say a word, ask, who am I speaking to? What do I want them to know, feel, or do? What is the clearest way to say it? AIM forces relevance. It strips away ego. If your audience is nervous executives, you might lead with the bottom line and risk. If your audience is new teammates, you start with context and clarity. Your intent could be to inform, to align, to decide, or to request help. Your message becomes the bridge between audience and intent. Suddenly, your words no longer wander, they serve. Try this in real life. Next time you're asked for your opinion, pause for a breath and silently run AIM. You will feel your brain click into a cleaner gear. The temptation to over-explain will drop. You'll get to the point faster, and people will thank you for it. Let's talk about listening. We often think that speaking well means thinking quickly, but the fastest path to smart speaking is actually deep listening. When you listen first, you gather the raw material you need to respond well. But under pressure, we fake listen while planning our answer. So switch to curious mode. Listen for 3 things: the question's core, the emotion underneath it, and the context around it. Then paraphrase briefly before you answer. You might say, "If I'm hearing you right, you're concerned about our timeline and the cost, and you want to know the trade-offs." That single move buys you time, proves you heard them, and helps you aim your response. It also calms the room. People relax when they feel understood. Now you can use a structure to answer. And if you're not sure yet, ask one clarifying question. Is the budget cap fixed, or can we reallocate from another line? You aren't stalling. You're sharpening the problem. Smart speakers don't try to be immediate. They try to be accurate and useful. I want to touch on a subtle mindset shift that Matt emphasizes, from performance to conversation. Performance thinking makes you self-conscious. Conversation thinking makes you audience conscious. In performance mode, you judge every sentence as you say it. In conversation mode, You respond to what's needed. A simple way to trigger conversation mode is to speak to one person at a time. Pick a friendly phase or a neutral listener. Talk to them as if you were explaining something over coffee. After a few sentences, move your eyes to another person and continue the conversation. If you're on video, pretend the camera is a single listener you like. This micro shift changes your tone, your pace, and your word choice. You stop trying to sound smart. You start trying to be clear. Now, questions. Questions can feel like traps, but they're actually invitations. The key is to honor the questioner, answer the question asked, and then bridge to the broader message if needed. Honor with a quick acknowledgement. That's an important point. Answer concisely using a structure. Then, if you need to broaden the view, bridge. And to add to that, or the bigger picture here is, if you don't know the answer, say so with the clan. I don't have that number right now. I'll check our latest report and follow up by end of day. That response isn't weakness, it's leadership. People trust clear boundaries and clear next steps. Also, consider preparing a few go-to phrases for tough moments. Let me think aloud for a second. There are two ways to look at this. I'll give the short answer, then the example. These phrases create a small runway for your brain to organize. Let's talk about storytelling. Spontaneous doesn't mean storyless. Stories are how humans make sense of information. When you're asked for a recommendation or a lesson learned, reach for a simple story arc. Challenge, choice, change. What was the challenge? What choice did you make? What changed because of it? Keep the story short and specific. Use real details. End with a takeaway that ties back to your listener's world. Imagine you're asked how you handled a conflict on your team. Challenge: 2 teammates disagreed about priority. Choice: you set a short experiment for 1 week to test both approaches. Change: the experiment showed a clear winner and reduced tension. Takeaway: when passion is high and data is low, run a small test to learn fast. That's a spontaneous story with a spine. It's not theatrical, it's useful. Many of us worry about filler words. Like they creep in when our thoughts outrun our mouth. The cure isn't shame, it's breathing and pausing. When you pause before your answer, you cut filler at the root. You show confidence without saying a word. Try a quiet inhale while you nod. Then speak. If you catch yourself mid-sentence drowning in clauses, land the plane. Let me be clear. Then restate your main point in 1 sentence and stop. That reset saves you from spirals and signals control. What about when you're interrupted? This happens. You can handle it with grace and focus. If you're interrupted by a question, you can say, "I'll answer that in 10 seconds right after I finish this thought." Then give 1 sentence and pivot. If you're steamrolled, gently reclaim the thread. To complete the thought for everyone, the key is X. Now, to your question. You're not defending your ego. You're protecting clarity for the group. And if you realize the interruption is valuable, yield and build. Let's go there. It's a great point and it ties directly to what we need next. Being flexible without losing your spine is a superpower. Here's a practical drill that can change your week. Every day, pick a routine moment and treat it as a mini rehearsal. The daily stand-up, the check-in call, the one-on-one with your manager. Choose a structure in advance. Decide your 1 main point and 1 example. In the meeting, use a grounding breath, speak for 60 seconds, and then stop. Over time, you'll find that your brain starts to plan in structures automatically. When a surprise question hits, you'll feel the rails appear. There's a psychological barrier that might still be whispering in your ear: the fear of not sounding smart. It makes you overqualify everything. It makes you stack caveats. It makes you bury your point deep in context. The brave move is to lead with your point and then support it. Bottom line up front. If you're wrong, you'll learn quickly. If you're right, you'll save everyone time. Respect your audience by being direct. Being direct is not being harsh. It's being kind to their attention. Another tool that helps under pressure is signposting. Let your listeners know where you're headed. There are 2 reasons this matters. I'll share the status, the risk, and the next step. Short answer, then the nuance. Signposts reduce cognitive load for everyone, including you. They keep you from wandering. They help people stay with you when the topic is complex. Pair signposting with numbers. Our brains love numbered lists because they promise an end. Let's bring this closer to life. Imagine you're asked in an interview, "Tell me about a time you failed." Breathe. Decide your structure. Challenge, choice, change. You might say, "I missed a deadline that delayed a launch by 2 days. I owned it immediately, called the stakeholders, and set a daily check-in to recover. We shipped and I created a new pre-launch checklist so it wouldn't happen again." Then, reflect briefly. That taught me speed is valuable, but reliability is priceless. Short, honest, useful. Now imagine your manager asks, "What should we do next quarter?" Use what, so what, now what? What? Our audience is up 18% in mid-market, down 5% in enterprise. So what? We're winning with our revised onboarding, but losing depth with larger clients. Now what? Double down on self-service from mid-market and run 3 enterprise pilots with dedicated success managers. You're not guessing, you're structuring. Sometimes the barrier isn't nerves, it's emotion. Maybe you're angry, maybe you feel attacked. In those moments, your words can come out sharp or shut down completely. Try pace and lead. First, match the emotion by naming it calmly. "I can tell this is frustrating." That's pacing. Then, lead with the path forward. Let's separate what's urgent from what's important and make a plan. You've acknowledged the feeling without being consumed by it. Your language becomes a container that can hold heat without spilling it everywhere. Another underused skill is preparation for spontaneity. Yes, that sounds paradoxical, but you can prepare for common moments. Create a short library of go-to stories from your life. Times you solved a problem, learned a lesson, navigated a conflict, or led a change. Keep them tight and adaptable. Also, rehearse structures out loud. Practice paraphrasing. Practice saying, "I don't know yet. Here's how I'll find out." The more you rehearse these moves, the faster they show up when you need them. You're not memorizing lines. You're building reflexes. Let's shift to self-reflection for a moment. Think about the last time you froze. What specifically triggered you? Was it the number of people, the authority in the room, the fear of not knowing enough? Can you name the thought you believed in that moment? Maybe it was, "If I don't sound brilliant, I'll lose credibility." Or, "If I pause, people will think I'm clueless." Now challenge that thought. What would it look like to believe instead, "If I'm clear and honest, I'll earn trust"? Or, "A short pause shows I care about precision"? What would change in your body if you believed the new thought? How would you speak? What story would you tell? Our words start far upstream in our beliefs. Shift the belief, and the voice follows. You may be wondering, how do I make this stick beyond today? Start with a tiny commitment. Choose one structure you like best. Maybe it's what, so what, now what? Use it at least once a day for the next week. Keep a note on your phone with a few signposts you enjoy. Before you speak, run AIM quickly in your head. Then, after the moment is over, do a 30-second debrief with yourself. What worked? What wobbled? What will I try differently tomorrow? That microcycle turns experience into growth. You're training not just your voice, but your nervous system. Let me share a personal style reflection that might feel familiar. There was a time when I thought credibility came from saying a lot, using big words and offering every angle. I was trying to impress ghosts, imaginary critics in my head. Then a mentor asked me a simple question after a spiraling answer I gave in a meeting. He said, "What would you say if you had 10 seconds?" I froze. Then I said one sentence. He nodded and said, "That's what we needed." That moment changed me. It wasn't about being the smartest person in the room. It was about offering the next helpful step. When I shifted from proving to serving, everything got easier. My anxiety didn't vanish, but it had somewhere to go. It became energy I could aim. And people responded not to perfection, but to presence. I want to challenge you to try one brave thing today. The next time someone asks for your thoughts, let yourself pause. Feel your feet. Breathe out. Run AIM. Choose a structure. Give one point and one example, then stop. Let the silence hold. If they want more, they'll ask. If you make a mistake, name it and course correct. Let me reframe that more clearly. If you don't know, say so and set a next step. I'll have that by tomorrow morning. This is how professionals talk under pressure, not with bravado, but with clarity and care. If you do this once today, you'll feel a subtle pride rise in your chest, not because you performed, but because you were present. There's beauty in speaking simply when others are spiraling. There's courage in pausing when others rush. There's kindness in answering the question that was actually asked. Think about a conversation you've been avoiding. Maybe it's with a coworker. Maybe it's with someone you love. Decide now what your intent is. Do you want to align? Decide, apologize, ask. Then choose a structure. Problem, solution, benefit works well for repair conversations too. We've been missing each other on deadlines. I propose we set a 10-minute daily sync. That will reduce surprises and protect our evenings. Clear, kind, actionable. You are capable of this. As we come to a close, consider what you truly want to be remembered for when you speak. Not the gloss, not the perfect phrasing, but the help you offered, the clarity you brought, the steadiness you modeled when things were uncertain. That's the heart of Think Faster, Talk Smarter. It's not about speed for speed's sake. It's about responsiveness rooted in presence. When you're present, you can listen. When you listen, you can aim. When you aim, you can structure. When you structure, you can serve. And when you serve, people trust you. That trust opens doors that performance alone never will. So here's your final takeaway to carry with you. When you're put on the spot, you're not alone on a stage. You're in a conversation with people who have needs. Choose to help one person. Breathe. Label your energy as excitement. Run AIM. Use a simple structure. Speak your point and your example. Then pause. That's it. Do this imperfectly but consistently, and you will transform how you show up in moments that once terrified you. Your voice will feel like a place you can live in, not a test you have to pass. And the next time someone turns to you and says, "What do you think?" You'll smile not because you know exactly what to say, but because you know exactly how to find it.